A biker went to his autistic daughter's school to surprise her and was shocked by what he saw. The day began with the sound of engines and the smell of cold morning air, and yet something inside his chest already felt like it was breaking. From the outside, he looked like every other biker who owned the road, leather jacket worn by time, helmet scuffed by miles, eyes hidden behind dark shades. But behind those glasses lived a man quietly terrified of failing again. His hands trembled slightly on the handlebars as he rode toward his daughter's school, planning what he believed would be the most beautiful surprise of her life. A simple gesture meant to tell her that despite his flaws and all the ways he had missed the mark before, he was still trying, still learning how to love better. He didn't know that in just a few minutes, the world he thought he understood would be shattered, rebuilt, and softened all over again. If you believe the world needs more kindness, forgiveness, and second chances, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe, because stories like this remind us how powerful one act of love can be. He had never imagined fatherhood like this. When his daughter was born, he pictured laughter in parks, loud birthdays, messy drawings stuck to the refrigerator, and endless questions about life and the world. Instead, he discovered silence, fear, confusion, and a daughter who lived in her own quiet universe. Doctors used words he didn't understand at first, words like spectrum and sensory overload, words that sounded clinical, distant, and unbearably final. He struggled not because he didn't love her, but because he didn't know how to reach her. He had spent years riding away from things instead of toward them. Whenever life became too loud, too complicated, he escaped to the road. It was easier to outrun feelings than sit with them. That choice cost him things. Time with her, trust from his wife, and eventually the warm, fragile little family. That once felt so possible. He hated himself for it. Nights alone in small rented rooms, surrounded by tools, oil, and engines that never judged him, he replayed every moment. The time she flinched when voices rose. The time she covered her ears as if the world itself hurt. The way she avoided eye contact not out of disrespect, but because constant noise and movement caged her from the inside. Slowly, painfully, he began learning. He read. He listened. He watched videos. He studied stories of children who saw the world differently. He practiced patience with himself and, quietly, he changed. Somewhere along the way, love returned as a responsibility instead of a feeling, something you choose to carry even when it is heavy. The surprise that day was meant to be a symbol. He had worked with the school to arrange it. He wanted to show up during recess, bring her favorite small gift, and just be present. Not dramatic, not loud, just there. He parked his bike far enough away so the noise wouldn't overwhelm her. He walked through the school gate with careful steps, carrying a small stuffed animal he had bought after remembering how she once clung to soft textures for comfort. He expected smiles, maybe confusion, maybe a shy glance from his daughter. What he saw instead stopped him dead in his tracks. Across the courtyard where children laughed and chased each other, his daughter sat alone at the edge of the playground, not because she preferred isolation, but because the others had created distance between them. A small circle of space seemed to surround her like an invisible border. He watched as two children looked at her, whispered to each other, and moved away. He saw a boy mock the way she flapped her hands when overwhelmed. He saw a girl roll her eyes when she tried to pick up a toy. And then, something worse, something that hollowed him out entirely. She smiled when they ignored her, as if she had learned to accept that love was optional for her, that she expected nothing more. His heart cracked in silence. All the miles he had ridden, all the bravado, all the mistakes, none of it hurt like this. He realized how deeply she needed protection, understanding, and advocacy that reached beyond apologies and promises. He also saw teachers doing their best, guiding, watching, but unable to control every child, every gesture, every subtle cruelty that floats unseen among playgrounds. He felt guilt because somewhere in his absence, she had become accustomed to being overlooked. That realization struck him harder than any accident he had ever survived on the road. He stayed still, unseen, for a long moment. He watched how she arranged pebbles in lines on the ground, how she rocked gently back and forth to soothe herself, how she glanced at doors and fences as if planning escape routes in case the world became too bright. Then something happened that shifted everything inside him. A younger student stumbled nearby and scraped his knee. While others hesitated, his daughter carefully stood up, walked over, and placed one of her pebbles in the boy's hand, as though offering him the only treasure she had. No words, just kindness. The boy stopped crying. The teacher finally noticed and helped him up, smiling in gratitude. In that gentle, quiet moment he understood, his daughter did not lack love. The world lacked the patience to see how she expressed it. He finally stepped forward, heart pounding. The staff recognized him and guided him closer with signals and soft gestures, minimizing noise, making space. When she noticed him, her reaction was not the dramatic embrace he had once dreamed of. It was something smaller, more fragile. Her eyes widened slightly. She tilted her head. She took one cautious step, then another, as if testing whether he would stay or disappear again. He knelt slowly, holding the stuffed toy out, respecting her space, letting her choose. When she reached out, not for the toy but for his sleeve, simply pressing her fingers there, grounding herself, he felt a wave of forgiveness he did not deserve wash over him. The rest of the visit unfolded gently. He learned to mirror her pace. They walked the courtyard together, not talking, just existing. He listened as teachers explained new strategies, new routines, how they tried to adapt the environment to her needs. He made mental promises, not loud declarations, promises to be present at meetings, to understand meltdowns instead of fearing them, to ride less when times felt heavy, to build a life where his road didn't lead away from home but always back to her. What shocked him most was not the cruelty he saw. It was the realization that love requires intention. It requires showing up every day, especially in the quiet moments where no one is watching. He discovered that advocacy meant learning, apologizing, and doing better, not just feeling guilt. He left the school that day changed, carrying an invisible weight that no motorcycle could outrun. On the ride home, the world seemed softer, more fragile, full of children who might be hiding similar storms beneath calm faces. The transformation did not happen overnight. There were setbacks, misunderstandings, days when things fell apart. But he stayed. He practiced patience. He sat beside her during sensory overloads. He celebrated tiny victories, a smile, a longer moment of eye contact, a shared routine. He became quieter inside himself. And gradually she let him into her world in small, beautiful ways. He learned that miracles don't always arrive in applause or grand gestures. Sometimes they arrive in silence, in steady presence, in the courage to keep trying. If this story has touched your heart, if it reminds you of the strength hidden inside gentle souls, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps more people see stories that heal. And before we close, I have a special request. Write a comment below about one act of kindness you witnessed or received, something small that still matters. By the time the sun set that evening, he parked his bike not as an escape, but as a promise. He walked inside, placed his helmet down, and sat with his daughter quietly on the living room floor, arranging objects in careful lines the way she liked. For the first time in years, he didn't wish for a different life or a different child. He simply felt grateful for the chance to learn from her. And in that stillness, he realized that the greatest road he would ever travel wasn't stretching out before him. It was unfolding gently at home, asking him to stay, to listen, and to love with patience forever.